Hi everybody, it's Leslie here, and this is the third now in my series of spinning puzzle cards. And this one's going to be a bit more just sharing some different ideas. I'm not going to go quite so much in depth into the methods with all of these, but I'll show you what we're going to make. I will put some chapters in, and if there's one specific card that you really love, you can then go and skip to that chapter. I'll tell you what products I used along the way as well. Just as a quick recap, I thought I'd do another hexagon card, which I did a hexagon card in my last video, and here it is all mixed up. So I went with a different idea so that when it's mixed up, you get to see the different colours. And then when you do solve it, which I thought I'd share this one because it uses some fabulous geometric stamps and they seem to work pretty well, so that, if you don't know what the picture is, obviously I know what the picture is, so it makes it a bit easier for me. But yeah, when it's solved, you get a really pretty image. And also I'll show you how to make your card blank to match as well. So that's the first one we're going to do today. Then, because these are so fab for kids, I thought I'd show you this one. So there's no stamping other than the sentiment, and what will become obvious is the balloon string in a minute. So yeah, this is quite a tricky puzzle. I thought this was going to be really simple, but it's surprising how the ones that you think are going to be really simple don't look so simple once they're mixed up. Again, I know what the image is, so look. So this is a cute little dinosaur, and I've done it on stars. And as you can see, what actually makes it trickier is putting the colours that are the same colours as my die cut on the top on. So I'll show you how to do that one. This one was using like a turnabout stamp, one of those that you can stamp it in multiple colours and you turn, or you can stamp it all in the same colour. But I thought I'd show you this one with the Scallop Circles. And when this one's out of position, it's quite tricky to see but on the camera, but when this one's out of position, you get a pop of the colour that I've used in the stamping showing through. It would probably have shown more if I'd chosen a different shape, like with the hexagons, for example. But I did it on the Scallop Circles, and it is there, and I'll show you how to get the colour that you've used in your stamping popping out underneath. This one, again, this one's actually really tricky. Again, I know what the picture is and I know how to solve it because I know which bits overlap. But this one is actually still another really tricky one to solve if you don't know what you're doing. So there, so that's it, solved. I did this one with the layers, and I wanted the layers to show here, and hopefully you can see they show when the puzzle's out of place. So this was using like a scalloped circle that's got a dot in it. So because I did so much colour here, I wanted to use a nice graphic image, and the butterfly seemed to work really well on this one. So when it's in position, you can only really see the purple showing through these dots, and that's the purple that matches here. But then when you mix it, you can see the red, you can see the orange, you can see a little bit of the turquoise and a bit of the purple going on in the middle. So again, I thought this was another really fun one if you can mix it, obviously a bit more than I did then. But yeah, I really like this one. So that's our 4 cards that I'm going to show today. Like I say, I'll put chapters down the bottom, and as we go through each one, I'll show you what products I use. It would be fantastic if you could give me a like, or if you've not subscribed already, if you could subscribe if you enjoy these videos. It just means that YouTube knows that somebody out there is actually watching my videos and likes them. I think I've got one more set of cards based around the spinning puzzle card idea set that I'm going to do. And I think I'll do some Christmas ones. I've got about 3 or 4 ideas for Christmas inspiration. So maybe if you're already subscribed, if you want to see some Christmas examples of this spinning puzzle card idea, if you could maybe just comment Christmas, if you could do that, that would be fantastic, because then I know at least you're not too fed up of the spinning puzzle cards, and I can go on and do some Christmas ones. So let's get on with it. Let's go do this card. Okay, I thought we'd start this one with a simple example. We're going to use the hexagons again, which I've used in my previous video with the different shape cards. But just a quick reminder, and I'm going to whiz through this one really fast, but I wanted to give a shout out to a stamp company, the British stamp company called Skull and Crossbuns. No affiliate links here. It just so happens that my husband from many years ago happens to know the lady who owns Skull and Crossbuns, and she is someone that he knows because he's originally from Plymouth and she's from that area as well. And they used to go out raving together, and they still occasionally see each other at rave, like reunions. So they know each other from the days of partying in the 90s. So these stamps, these two, she does fabulous grey rubber stamps. She does do a few clear stamps as well. And usually she does them wood mounted, but these ones aren't wood mounted because she occasionally does what she would call like a grab bag. And they're mixed stamps, and you don't get to choose what comes in them. But I got both these, the big bear and the little bear, in one of her mixed grab bags. So I'll stick a link to that. It's not an affiliate link. It's just because my husband happens to know it. And I think they're a fabulous small company, and it's really nice to support small businesses if you can. So all I've done was, because I had these two lovely geometric bears, and I thought the geometric lines would work brilliantly with the puzzle idea, is I went through my stash, found another stamp set that had similar style. So I've used the rabbit or the hare from this set, and the star and the happy birthday. And I would have used this star, but I pulled it out to use it and had everything set up to film, and then I can't find it. So it's probably stuck to the back of something somewhere on my desk, and I have searched and searched. So because I couldn't find that star after I'd started making this, I also pulled this set out, and this is a really old Do Crafts one. This was Geo Shapes. So just the big star up here, that's from Do Crafts Geo Shapes stamp set, which is this one. And I just picked things that were all in a similar style. So even though there's 3 different companies here, so this set was Geometric Stamps. I think this came with, I'm going to guess at Simply Cards and Papercraft, but it could have been one of the other magazines. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think this is one's from about 2017. So this isn't a new set either. These, if you've not seen my video, I have everything stored in something called Airtable, which is an online piece of software. And I just type the word geometric in, because any time I've got anything like this, I can search through geometrics. That's how I went through my stash and found everything I had that was geometric. And to do my layout, all I did was I drew around my outer die so that I knew that it'd all fit on my biggest shape that I wanted to use. I'll stick some footage of me doing it in if there's space on the video. I use this white puff twinkle embossing glitter. So this is a wow one, and hopefully you can see it's not like a really smooth flat one. It's supposed to have like texture to it, and I thought because I was doing animals it might be quite nice. I'm just going to run this through my die cut machine off screen, just like all my previous examples. There we go. Now, for this one, I decided that I would have the idea of the different colours peeping out, because I like that on my previous card. So I cut my full top layer in the dark colour, and then I've got the dark colours to back them with, and then I've got the light colours to do as my liner pieces. So I'm just going to stick all these together, stick my liner pieces in, and then we'll pop our hole through the middle. So exactly like we've done before, I've got all my pieces lined back up. I've got my template, which is the same size as the outer one. You could use the inner one as well if you wanted to. I'm going to poke a hole through just so I can make a mark. Get all these lined up because you want them to be as perfect as possible in the complete position. You can temporary tape them together if you want to, but I found this works just as well for me. Lay your template over the top, line it up as best you can. Find the pencil that's missing on your desk. Just make sure everything's lined up. Looks like it's in the middle. And again, I'm just going to use my Crop-o-dile just to get my hole through all the pieces all at once. Because that's the quickest way I've found to do it. I think I'm going to go with the white because I don't think I've got another colour that'll look good in the middle there. So I'm going to go with the white on this one. And I thought we could do this one on a shaped card. So I just went, so this is my second to biggest layer, I think. So I've just got my biggest one. This is a 6x6 card blank, so it just fits on my largest hexagon. And hopefully you can see I've got it just hanging off this edge, so this is the folded edge, so it's hanging off the edge, so I can just run this through my die cut machine. So now I've got my shaped hexagon card, and the reason I didn't want this outer layer to spin is because it would overhang if we did that at the bottom, so it wouldn't stand up. So I thought we wouldn't have the outer one spinning. We'll stick it the right way up so that when the writing's the right way up, the whole thing will stay the right way up. And I did it so that I get that nice white border. So I'm just going to put some foam tape on this and stick it down. So there's our card, so we can send it mixed up like that, so you get the nice colour showing through, and obviously then your recipient can do the puzzle. I thought it worked really well with the geometric because once it is mixed, you know, it becomes not really obvious what the picture's going to be, what the scene's going to be. I know the bird's face is there in the middle, so that's a bit more obvious, but it's not so obvious what the whole scene's going to be with these really nice geometric stamps. Let's do some more. So ever since I did the flower-shaped spinning puzzle card the other day, I'd been thinking about stars. I thought I'd have a go at doing a really fun card that's dinosaur lovers, but definitely suitable for younger boys as well as those young at heart, obviously. So I'm going to use this set. So this is it's an older hobbycraft set. This one's called Have a Roarsome Day. It came with dies for the dinosaur, a balloon and party hat and some stars and some stamps. So I thought I'd use this one today, and I've already done a lot of pre-cutting just so you don't have to sit and watch me pre-cut. Got some thin paper because whatever we put on, remember we've got to be able to die cut. This is an old Ducraft paper. This is only 160 GSM. So I just pulled out some colours to cut them all out of from that, and you can see my scraps are already in the back. I've then got these star dies. I didn't have any with plain edges, so this is the first time I'm doing one with a stitched edge. I still need to cut my template just so that we can find the centre, and I've just got, this is just under a 5x5 inch card blank, because I want my pattern to go onto my card blank. You'll see what I mean in a second. And I didn't want it to get lost, so I've gone with a card blank that's just a bit bigger than my biggest star die. So this is my biggest star die, and in my particular set I've just skipped one for each of the layers. So I think there's still 4 on my board. So this is just skipping 1 out of my layers. We need to assemble our top piece. So here we go. I've got my biggest star cut out of white because I didn't want to cut my outer one afterwards because I want to get my placement of him right. My idea, if we start our little layout, is that he's going to stand on his card, on his little star. And of course this would work for any little images you've got. He's just got this is his tummy. And I just went with some basic primary colours, sticking with the idea that this was, you know, for smaller kids. And I cut out his balloons, and I thought the balloons we could have going off the card. Maybe we'll do it this way. So I thought we could have the balloons up there, and in the stamp set there is a balloon string, so we can stamp the balloon string across. I will need to temporarily tape this while we stamp across both, I think. I'm going to put you on fast forward while I just do some sticking. And as I said in my previous video, because we are going to cut this image up, you do need to make sure that you've got your glue going to all the little edges, because you don't want to leave a tiny bit dangling and it fall off, or else you're going to have to start sticking them all back together at the end. I've just got myself a couple of bits of, these have been used before, it's just a couple of bits of washi tape just to pop on the back so that I can temporarily stick this to my card blank where I want it while I work out where exactly I'm going to put my stamping. I'm just going to do this with VersaFine just so I get a nice thin line. Let's do our greeting as well. Don't do it upside down, I did that the other day. So our balloons are going to be up here, and I think it'll fit the best, yeah. Let's pop it up here. Just while we're there as well, I think we're just going to stamp. There's a little roar in the stamp set, and I just thought that might be fun. Just on the back of the envelope. All I've done is the background of my card. I've got everything ready. I've got my balloons on. Everything's just in nice bright primary colours, and this at the moment is still just temporarily tacked in the middle. In exactly the same way as I've done for every other card, I just need to stick these ones together. I don't need my outer one this time because we've already cut it. So I just need to tape these together with a nice even space between them. Pretty equal to me. So now all we need to do is cut this, which is, so this is why we didn't use really thick paper to layer our die cut on top with, because all this now has got to go through our die cut machine. Now we've got all that cut, all ready to go. The keen-eyed amongst you will have realised that when this spins, or when this is out of position, we're going to have quite a lot of extra showing. So we're going to have all these bits showing. So what I thought would be quite fun was if we used as our liner pieces the same colours that we've got in our dinosaur. So I've done a green, a yellow, and a red for my liner pieces. So I'm going to stick all my layers together. So this one will end up like this. And then when the next piece is out of position, all these green pieces will show through. So I'm going to get all that stuck together and we'll see how it looks. So we've got our image all ready. And one of my lovely viewers for my other videos commented and asked if we couldn't just use a pokey tool, and of course you can. If you've got a nice sharp pokey tool, you can just keep poking through. Right position. You can just keep poking through and push through each layer, and as long as you get through one layer, make a mark in your next, get through the next layer, you should be able to do it that way as well. So of course you can use a pokey tool. And just while we're talking about it, this would be another option. These are in my stash from years ago. These are actually eyelet tools, so you need to use these with a hammer. So I don't want to do it on camera. It'd be a bit noisy. So these have got like a hole in them, and you put that in the middle, and it means you can make a hole anywhere. It doesn't matter, you know, how big your piece of paper is, but it works in the same way as the Crop-o-dile Big Bite, that you can make a hole through. Okay, so just make sure that it looks like you're in the center and you've got everything lined up. And I am just going to put a darker mark so I can see it. So just die cut one more of my largest star so that this is the piece that will end up stuck to the card. So all we need to do is line everything up. To make sure that when we punch a hole, it goes through the same point on all of them with it solved. So we've got our hole, got our brad, pop it through the middle, open up his little legs. Now, all we need to do is get some foam tape on the back and stick our star down, and then we'll see what it looks like with all the different layers. Now, I'm hoping, yes, because we'd only put one layer of foam under the balloon, we could have done this back one in a different colour. Now I've thought about it, of course. What looked like it was going to be a really simple image and a really simple puzzle has actually turned out quite tricky. I really like that for, you know, a toddler age, or, you know, younger children. I'm really pleased with how that one's come out. So yeah, have a awesome day, and all I need to do is a nice happy birthday stamp or something on the inside. I've already stamped raw on the envelope. So, and that was all from a single stamp set. I think I probably will just cut the edge of the yellow balloon off, just because I don't think it'll fit in the envelope. I could have left it overhanging, but I don't think it would have fit. It's quite a tight fit in this envelope, and there's already dimension on it. And I quite like the different colours because it makes it look more complicated. And it really isn't that complicated, but yeah, we could have gone back to red, I think would have looked good for the outer star here that's hidden behind, but it looks all right in white as well. I like that. So that's another idea. That's using stars. Let's move on to another one. Right, for this card, I'm going to use this stamp set, which is this is Hunky Dory for the love of stamps, and this one's called Pretty Petals, and this is what's called a stamp and twist, which is pretty much the same as the turnabout stamps that you can get from some companies. This is just Hunky Dory's version of it. So the Hunky Dory ones come with, on the packaging, they come with the instructions and a 6x6 piece for you to cut off to use as your template to set it all up. And I've picked out 4 colours. I picked out stone blue, lemongrass, orange peel and sparkling berry from my Catherine Pooler inks, just because they look like nice colours to go together. So I'm going to stamp this with these, and then we'll come to the rest of it in a minute. Okay, so we've got our image all stamped, and as you can see, it's got a lovely gap at the centre, which is just perfect for us to pop our brad through. So when we do this one, my plan was, as I've done with all my others, I've made myself a template so I can fold this, find the centre. So I'm using some Scallop Circles with this one. And the reason that I picked my lovely juicy Catherine Pooler inks to do this from was I thought we'd use them to colour our hidden layers so that it tones in with this. So just to make sure I've got this in the centre, just going to do one more fold in the opposite direction. So I thought this would lend itself really well to using something like these Scallop Circles on. So the ones I'm using are Sizzix ones. I've had these ones for years. These are Scallop Circles, and I'm going to use every other one. So I've already cut out 2 of each of the ones that I want out of white. So I've got 2 of each side of the 4 sizes that I'm going to use. And I just wanted to show you these ones are really cool to line up, because what I've done is this is the whole set, and I'm using the largest, skipping one, then the next one, and so on into the centre. And I've got them sat, the one that I want to use, cutting side down, just on a magnetic sheet. And because the way these ones are laid out on the die, if you use the next one down, it helps you line it up pretty much perfectly. So I've got all the ones that I want to use are cutting side down, and the ones I don't want to use this time at the moment are cutting side facing up. So when I stick my tape across this, the only ones that I'm going to get stuck to it, the centre one doesn't actually matter because it's not doing anything. The only ones that are going to get stuck to it are the ones that have got the wider part sticking up. So that's the 4 that I'm using. I've just got my washi tape in like a pound shop dispenser, just so I can always pull a piece off. So when I lift this up, all I need to do, and it should be really easy to do so, is pull out every other one. Because I've got them sat opposite ways, the only bit holding on to it was the tiny bit of the cutting edge. And I'm just going to make sure I take a little bit of the tack off this, because I don't want, this is new tape, and I don't want to ruin my lovely stamped image. So just use some anti-static powder on there. And the same way that we've done on all my other ones, I'm just going to pop that back in there like a puzzle piece. So now hopefully you can see I've just got a tiny dot in the middle. If I lift it up, I've got my tiny dot in the middle, which I put my pokey tool on and held it while I dropped that on. And you can tell that looks pretty good because these leaves all look good. And like I said, because my tape's quite new tape, I want to make sure I'm really careful peeling it off. I'm just going to go through and stick each one of these to one of its layers. Now, because these aren't quite circles, as with on some of my other ones, it's not going to show much on the bottom layer, but when you turn them, they are very slightly going to show, might see it better off a different layer, they're going to show a little bit of colour in between. It's not going to be a huge amount on these ones, but when these are out of sync, you'll see little tiny spots of colour. So what I thought would be fun for my liner pieces was to make my 4 liner pieces and the back one that will end up in there, the colours that are in the stamp. Because the blue's the darkest, let's just go with the blue on the inside. And I thought I was just going to do this direct to paper because it only needs to be the edge. I'm just going to go around and do this. And the Catherine Pooler inks are lovely and juicy. And I'm going to end up covered. So let's go blue on that one. I'm thinking pink on this one. So now we just need to go back and stick these in each of our layers. So we need to line all of our pieces up, and hopefully I can actually do my own puzzle. Again, this one is a nice, tricky one. So just make sure everything's lined up, and then however you're going to make your hole through. I've got my trusty Crop-o-dile. I'll stick a link to this in the description box. But this is a fab tool that's been out for, I've had mine years and years and years. So what's going to happen is we'll put our foam tape on this. This is going to drop in here, and now it's subtle, but when you spin it, the colours, you can just see. I will lift this up. You can't see it much on the bottom layer, but can you see? It is quite subtle because it's only a tiny bit. So can you see there's orange peeping out here? And there's a tiny bit of pink peeping out here. And then there is a tiny bit of blue in the middle. And then the yellow on the outside. I don't know how obvious that is on camera, but you can see it in real life. So it's quite a fun little extra. And I'm just using the corner of my scoreboard. I don't know which way up I want it. Just to push it right into those 2 corners. So everything is at least lined up properly in these 2 corners. So the yellow at the back stuck down, and it is quite subtle, the colouring on the layers, but it just means you've not got that stark white showing through. So if I show you this sort of out of position, you can barely see it on the centerpiece. So there's a little bit of yellow showing. It's probably a bit easier to angle it. So you can see the yellow showing, and you can see the orange just about showing. There, you can see it up here. And there's a little bit of pink shows. It's all subtle, but if you like the detail when you make cards, that's a little detail that some people won't notice, but it's there and you'll know. I know people had commented on my previous videos that they really liked the one that was actually hard, so that you could use it for an adult. So yeah, that was the idea with this one, that it would become quite a tricky, hard puzzle. There's loads of ways you can look at your supplies and adapt this idea to whatever it is you have. I'm tempted to leave this without a greeting, and you could use it either way until you put a greeting on it. Let's do another card. Okay, for my next one, I wanted to show you the stamp set I was using because I think it's an amazing stamp set. This came with Creative Stamping issue 118, so that's 118. So I know that this is available in the UK because it's a British magazine, but I think you can get an American subscription, and I think it pops up in American bookstores sometimes. Someone in America, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can get hold of this in America as well. Other places in the world, I'm guessing across Europe, you could order this from the UK. And this came with 2 huge stamp sets. So this one was called Wings and Things, and it was in partnership with Mental Health UK. And these are UK A4 size stamp plates. They are huge. So this one, we're going to be using this butterfly and the birthday wishes off it. But this is all like insects and moths. And the idea was that it was a mindfulness set to do colouring on, which is why it was in conjunction with Mental Health UK. But this one is quite similar to the butterfly stamp I used the other day, but it's not quite as big, but it's a similar idea. I thought this was a really fabulous stamp set. So if you can get your hands on this one, if it's still out there, if I can find it in stock anywhere, I will link it somewhere in the description. I don't know if it's still in stock on Craft Stash in the UK. If it is, I'll try and link it. So that's the stamps we're going to use. And this idea has been going around my head since I did my first puzzle card about somehow doing rainbow layers. I've got I think this is an A6 card blank. Sorry, 6x6. Yeah, this is a 6x6 card blank. And my envelope ready to go. So just pop them up there for a minute. And I'm going to use this set of dies on this one. And I don't know if this is going to come out well or not. So these are a set of Spellbinders dies. I'm hoping you can, yeah, if I can get my camera to focus. So these are Spellbinders dies. And they're the ones that cut little circles out as well. So it's a scalloped, we're a nesting scalloped circle die set. And they cut the little holes out. But this is the whole set. It was 1, 2, 3, 4 dies. And actually the smallest one doesn't cut the circles. I think you're supposed to emboss those. And I don't know how well it's going to look with the dots, but we'll see. So you're doing this one along with me. So I've got my template with my centre point marked already. Done exactly the same way. Fold it, dot in the middle. There's the centre. So I've got that ready. And this is what I'm going to do my stamping on. But I wanted to show you what I've done cutting out first. I wanted a rainbow of layers, and then I wanted another rainbow of layers. Hopefully this will all become clear. And I've cut them already with my nesting squares. So this is my largest nesting square down to my small, you know, going down just one in each size. So this is what we're going to do our stamping on. And already cut out as well, I've now also got all my layers. So hidden behind our square panel, we're going to have red with our panel on top. And then we're going to have the orange inlaid and our panel on top. This will hopefully become clear as we do it. And now you get hopefully seeing my plan. And then the purple. And there won't be much of the purple show because there isn't the little holes in the purple, but it will be there slightly when you spin it. So I've got 2 rainbows going on here, one on the layers and then one again as we spin. Hopefully they'll show up. And just to show I wasn't wasteful, I gutted my layers. So this red one came out of there and orange one came out of there and so forth. And it also means it won't be quite so heavy. So I've got all my layers ready to go. I've got an extra layer so that all the rings can spin, and this piece will be stuck flat, or else I think it'll be all too thick. That was just an extra. So let's sit these ones out of the way for a moment and let's do our stamping. Right, so what I've done is I've got my card that I'm going to stamp on in my stamp platform. I've got my template, which I'm going to use to find the centre later on as well. And I've just popped that on there. And the reason I'm doing that is like I did on my butterfly card in my last video, sorry, in my original video with the circle spinning puzzle cards, I want this so that his little head ends up with the brad through it. So I want this centered so that the brad's going to go through the middle of his head. I think my stamp's going to very slightly hang off, but I'm not going to be too concerned about that because of the style of stamp it is. So I want him in there. And I also want to put my greeting in, which I'm not so concerned if it lands on the circle. It'd be nice if it does. I should have tried to put that in first, shouldn't I? And I'm going to go with the same theory that that's going to nestle. I don't think it'll fit otherwise. Yeah, that will nestle up here between its wings. I'm just going to check that it's straight, which it's not. Sorry if my head's in shot. That's not bad straight now. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp this in black VersaFine, and I'm doing that because I think with all the other colours going on my card, I thought I would keep my stamping just in black and white, which is why I chose this particular stamp instead of one of the other ones, which are all fabulous stamps, but I thought they wouldn't have the impact that this one's going to have just in the black and white. I'm just going to give that one more go. It's a brand new stamp. VersaFine generally works pretty well even on brand new stamps because it's quite a sticky ink. But just to make sure that I've got some good coverage. So what I'm doing is I'm looking under my template. I've got lined up with the middle of his head. Right, so hopefully that's all of our cutting and stamping all done. So we just need to do all of our assembly. Okay, so there's all of our layers ready to go. We're going to leave that to dry whilst we stick all these ones together. So because I want this one to spin too, I need to put a circle or a piece of scrap in the middle back there just to stick it down with. So that's a bit small. So this just needs taping back here temporarily while we make the holes. You'll never see it. So same as we've done every other time, using our template. Let's get everything lined up in the finished position because we want it to match up the best possible in the complete position. There we have it. So when we put this one out of position, you can see, so when it's in its right position, you can see purple dots popping through, and then when you push it out of position, you get the red, the orange, the turquoise, and there's just a tiny hint of purple in the middle. So let's give it a mix, and you can see what it looks like when it's all mixed up. I don't think I've quite got this in the centre, but I don't think anybody will care because I think that that's such a fun puzzle. And again, it is sort of obvious what it's going to be when it's solved, but I still think that's a fun puzzle to send. And I'll just put it back to the right position so you can see what it looks like when it's complete. So there you go. I'm really happy with that. It took me a little while to think about how to get the colours going and how to incorporate all the colours in the main card as well. But yeah, if you've got a really nice black and white image that fits on something, you know, that you can use, I think bringing the colour in a different way and leaving the image as a really nice line art type of image, I think that works really well as well. It would be fantastic if you could give me a like, or if you've not subscribed already, if you could subscribe if you enjoy these videos. I think I've got one more set of cards based around the spinning puzzle card idea set that I'm going to do. And I think I'll do some Christmas ones. I've got about 3 or 4 ideas for Christmas inspiration. So maybe if you're already subscribed, if you want to see some Christmas examples of this spinning puzzle card idea, if you could maybe just comment Christmas,